The Notre Dame women's basketball team is off to a 5-5 start to this season. And Lou, I feel like as we probably expected coming into the season with basketball, men's and women's, there's a ton of movement on the schedule with COVID cancellations and all that. Again, so the Irish currently at 5-5 at the time we're recording this video here on January 9th. 3-3 in the conference, and Notre Dame's last game was a 64-61 loss against Boston College. And of course, you can find Lou's coverage from that game at blueandgold.com. But Lou, tell us about that one, because Notre Dame certainly had a comfortable lead, and then they didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's one of the in the 40, I guess it's 43-year history of the program now, one of the epic collapses at the end of the game. Notre Dame was up by 14, 58-44 late in the contest, and in fact, it's 60-48 with 2:40 still remaining. And Notre Dame had just turned it over, and it's like, okay, it wasn't the prettiest finish to it, and then all of a sudden, in a span, I had it as 54 seconds. Boston College went on a 11-0 run. You try that even in the backyard, it's almost impossible to do. So it was just one of those deals where everything Notre Dame was doing was wrong and everything was falling for Boston College. Notre Dame did not handle the full court press well. And Boston College finished with a 16-1 run in those final 2 minutes and 35 seconds. And it was a game pressure that Notre Dame did not react to, whereas the previous two games, very impressive wins after a really poor performance on December 20th at Clemson. Lost 78-55, and Clemson hasn't been one of the stronger teams in the ACC. So to lose that one by 23 was just a huge setback, but they responded well. They had 11 days off between games. They played very well at Miami, Florida, which has been a tough out in the past, and won 71-60. And then a Georgia Tech team that had beaten Notre Dame by 15 to open the ACC conference season. That was a lot of game pressure at the end, and Notre Dame really responded well, won it 69-67. So you're thinking, okay, they're coming around, they're coming of age. But yeah, that Boston College game, that can be one of those type of losses that can really kill a season. So it will be interesting how they respond, because they were supposed to play at Syracuse, which has been in the top 25 on Sunday. That's been postponed because of COVID-19 situations over at Syracuse. And then they were supposed to host Pitt, and that was also postponed. So Notre Dame's next opponent again will be Boston College at home. That will be next Thursday, the 14th, and how they respond there, it's not going to make or break necessarily, because we said that about Georgia Tech too. They responded tremendously against Georgia Tech, but it didn't make them because they lost the next game against Boston College. But they need to really double down on the resilience, because that type of loss that you had at Boston College can be a season killer.
Yeah, that would have given Notre Dame and Niele Ivey 3 straight wins and 4 of their last 5. So then your next opponent is the same team. So it could make or break kind of deal, because if you beat them, then you're back on that same schedule. You kind of you get that loss out of your mind and you move forward after that win. But if you lose to Boston College again, Lou, what does the schedule kind of look like then? Because now you're at 5 and
Yeah.
6.
Well, the real tough portion of the schedule is February. This is when you wanted to make hay in January, because in February they play Louisville twice, which is ranked number 2 in the country. Then you play North Carolina State, which is ranked number 3. You play Syracuse maybe twice. They're ranked as well. So the heavy part of the schedule really is going to be in February, and you wanted to really establish kind of a momentum going into that portion of the season.
Lou, so this is Niele Ivey's first season as the Notre Dame women's basketball coach. What would you say about the job she's done, this season so far? Like, how do you kind of feel about the program, without Muffet McGraw moving forward with Niele Ivey?
Well, last year they finished 13 and 18, and they had just an inordinate amount of attrition. You lose all five starters to the WNBA. You lose two players who were expected to be maybe even starters to transfers. You lose a couple of others who were supposed to play major roles to injuries. Abby Prohaska had a pulmonary embolism, so she couldn't even play at all last year. Mickey Vaughn uh, surgery on her knee, basically played on one leg, but gutted it out. So along the way, Anaya Peoples, who had been playing so well, she had to have shoulder surgery. Another one who was coming off shoulder surgery, Caitlin Gilbert, was playing in her first year. So dramatic transition year this year because they took their knocks. There's better depth. They have a tremendous freshman in Maddie Westbeld, a five-person freshman class, but right now a couple are sidelined with injuries there as well. Sam Burnell, the top freshman on the team last year, she was sidelined in the preseason with a foot injury, was in a walking boot for a while. She's trying to get back into a rhythm. And in the Boston College game in the third quarter, whether she was poked in the eye, she got a inadvertent hit by a teammate there going for a scramble on a ball. So they've had setbacks. I don't want to be making knee-jerk reactions, good or bad, after 10 games. I think by the end of the season, we'll have a better handle on it. As anticipated, she's made some rookie mistakes as a head coach for the first time. It's never, never easy. One of the most thankless tasks in coaching is replacing a legend. And because then some of the mistakes get highlighted a little bit more. I think that's one of the reasons why Muffet said she stayed last year. She indicated is that, boy, if I leave now and with what's coming back, everyone's going to blame Niele for the travails that happened, and that would be unfair. You know, if they would have gone 13 and 18 with Niele last year, people would have been saying, well, if Muffet would have been here, they would have won 20 games. No, Muffet was there, and they won only 13, went 13 and 18 overall. So what I did think this year was realistic was getting back to the NCAA tournament. I was hoping then a year from now, maybe getting back into Sweet 16 caliber, and then 3 years from now, getting into that top 10, maybe even vying for the Final Four, which was an annual ritual from 2011 through 19, 7 times in 9 years they were there. It's not going to be an easy road back, but you do want to see some more progress than they've been making at this point, because every time this year, it seems like they've taken a step forward and then boom, there's a step back. So let's see if they can first establish some consistency and rhythm.
All right, well, that'll do it for this video. For folks that are looking for more Notre Dame women's basketball coverage here on our YouTube page, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know what you think about Niele Ivey's first season with the Notre Dame Fighting Irish women's, or as head coach of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish women's basketball program.